Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie O'Leary, and co-host, Alec Crowdhamel. We have a spring game recap for you guys. We'll talk about things we saw, the players that we think stood out. We will talk about where the Rutgers graduates ended up in the NFL draft or as undrafted free agents, and this is ongoing, so not everyone has signed yet, but we'll give you an update where things are. And we got another commitment in the class of 2026. We'll talk about who that player is and what they bring to the table, and we'll give you a brief update on the NFL Draft Challenge for Rutgers that we had about almost 100 entries, so pretty good showing. We'll talk about where that's at. But first, this podcast is once again presented to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online sports betting. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the NBA playoffs to Major League Baseball, NHL, and UFC, even the Kentucky Derby and NFL futures season bets are ready for you to bet. In between games, you could head over to the BetOnline Casino with all of the Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. Okay, so the Scarlet team defeated the white team 14-13 on a walk-off touchdown from a 13-year-old boy. Not exactly what you'd expect out of a regular sports game. For a spring game, that's kind of par for the course. High-level stuff. I thought a few players stood out to me. I thought AJ Serace looked really sharp, especially in the beginning of the game. I thought Abdul Rahman, the edge rusher, looked good throughout the game. I think there's one guy who really kind of stood head and shoulders above the rest, though, and that was Vernon Allen. He was just making catch after catch in traffic. He was high pointing the ball well, deep passes. He was tracking the ball well. Just a really impressive showing from the white team's passing game. Rich, we'll start with you. What stood out to you about the spring game for you?
The ongoing quarterback controversy. AJ Serace versus Nathan Kaliakmanis. One looked a lot better than the other, and it's not who you think. No, but in reality, AJ Serace looked really good. I thought he was slinging it. I thought him to Vernon Allen, which ended up being his favorite target, was just a fun combo to watch because you get a glimpse of the future, basically. We've been saying it time and time again. This staff loves AJ Serace. We know that he's more than likely the heavy odds-on favorite to start in 26 and 27 and probably 28. You'll be lucky, I guess, if he leaves early. That'd be awesome, but just not likely. But yeah, no, I thought he looked really good. I mean, he stole the show from the quarterback perspective. Running backs, you didn't get to see your top two. Well, I mean, Antoine Raymond had one carry, so I guess technically you got to see him. But you got to see what the other backs can do. We know Ja'Shawn Benjamin was out for a nice chunk of last year. He looked pretty good. And then I thought these wide receivers looked good. Like I know a lot of people didn't talk about it too much, but Jordan Houston actually had a pretty solid game too. And those are your two freshmen. I actually had Houston going into spring or going into I guess going into spring practices as the top freshman wide receiver. But Vernon Allen just really stole the show in this game, and very impressed. I think on the flip side, defensively, MJ Johnson looked pretty good at linebacker. Gave you a little bit of hope considering that they are now missing a linebacker with Mohamed Toure gone. You didn't see Walker. You didn't see Jabome. You didn't really see any of the starters. I wanted to see the corners out there and see how they played. A little bit of Jet Elad. Digibro, you mentioned already. Abdul Rahman looked pretty solid. But again, he was also going up against backup tackles for the most part. And then last but not least, I think it has to be mentioned. Those gray jerseys are sick. But I don't know if we'll ever see them again because they're Adidas brand technically. So I guess Nike could make them for them. But I think the gray looks nice. It's a nice little compliment to the red helmet. And like a dark, stormy, like cloudy day like that, I think they really complement the photos nicely. That's just me.
How about you, Alec? What were some of your high-level thoughts on how the spring game went?
Yeah, it was a lot of the same things that Richie kind of pointed out. Apologize to the video watchers for my endless fidgeting. I have a fan pointed directly at me, so it's not really agreeing with my hair. But either way, yeah, I really like what I saw from Vernon Allen. It was kind of a mix of things too. Like we saw some underneath and we saw some deep shots as well. Ben Black also hauled in a pretty nice deep shot from Serace as well. It kind of mixed through a lot of different things. Serace threw 24 passes. So they definitely threw a lot of different things at him. Yeah, Jordan Houston looked good too. Obviously Ben Black had the big time target. I think it was like a fade down the sideline that he brought in. He beat his man, almost scored a touchdown. He just barely stepped out of bounds. But I liked what I saw from Serace, definitely. He definitely showed a lot. Not as much of the, I guess, the rushing attack that he could bring, but also it's the spring game, so quarterbacks aren't really trying to run anyways. Um, I mean, looking at the running backs, it just, I maybe it's something I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the bias of watching Kyle Managa over the years, but like watching guys like Jay Sean Benjamin, watching guys like Ed Guerrier, even Terrell Mitchell at times, like watching the way that they run, and maybe it's the play calls as well. But it looks eerily reminiscent, where they have a lot of a lot of wide zones or inside zone runs, and the time in the cutbacks and things like that. So. Um, yeah, that's definitely. I feel like that's definitely the style of running back they're going after nowadays, and that's what they really want to keep on doing. And obviously, it's worked really well. Thinking of some other I guess big time takeaways. I felt like the Scarlet offense was more of like the um, try to really establish the run and get the running game going, while the White offense was more of like diversifying it, getting a lot more passing. Now, a lot of that also has to do with who was at quarterback. Sean Aschenfelder made his debut. Um, wasn't He had some nice passes, but also definitely some stuff to work on as well. Obviously, as you'd expect from a true freshman making his first collegiate start when he hasn't even graduated high school yet, or hasn't had his high school graduation yet. But it wasn't anything like too groundbreaking or anything like that. And I mean, that's to be expected from a spring game where you're not gonna light the world on fire, and you're not going to showcase too much or anything like that. But it was good to see Serace get in action. Good to see a lot of the stable running backs. Good to see the freshmen kind of stick out as well. I thought it was interesting. The White team, they started, their starters were all three freshman running backs. It was Michael Thomas, Jordan Houston, and Vernon Allen. So that was good to see that they're kind of sticking out as well. I know they didn't have Ian Strong, but KJ Duff was starting on the Scarlet team. So definitely good to see a lot of these freshman wide receivers kind of showing out through spring camp.
Yeah, and we touched a lot on the passing game on offense. I think also on offense, I thought Jishawn Benjamin ran really well. He had a few really nice cutbacks. I thought he consistently just made really just plus EV plays. Getting that extra yard or two. I think he had like a 14-yard run on like a second and long or a third and long to pick up first down. He was a guy who showed a lot of promise as a freshman, redshirted last year. He played 4 games, so it's not like he stayed off the field entirely. But I know Schiano really wanted to get him that developmental year that he missed out on as a true freshman. So him as a redshirt sophomore now, with a lot more experience, a lot more bulk on his frame, I think he could be a really dangerous third option out of the backfield with Raymond and Campbell. Houston as well made some really nice plays in the passing game. But defensively, I thought 2 guys really stood out to me. They were both on the White team. True freshman Jonathan Insignia, he made some really nice splash plays. He did a great job sorting through the trash, picking up 2 tackles for loss from this linebacker position. And then Stretch Derillis had 2 really nice pass breakups as well. So 2 true freshmen who've only been on campus for roughly 3 months have seemed to really kind of take things, if we're just looking at it from a 1-game sample, taking things and kind of run with it.
Yeah, I thought Insignia's best play was it was like an outside run to Guerrier near the goal line, and Insignia chased him down and tripped him up and stopped him short of the line. 2 of his 4 tackles were for loss. Yeah, I definitely like what I saw from him, especially considering he was like a signing day surprise, really, to bring him in, and it seems like he's off to a good start.
Was there anyone else on defense who really stood out to you guys?
I thought DJ McClary looks pretty good for a youngster. He's only been there for 3 months, 4 months now. He looks good. MJ Johnson, I said before, I really liked. I thought he had a couple good plays. There was one play where I couldn't tell who he was because it's hard to remember all the new numbers. And I'm like, oh my God, like who the hell's 17? That was a hell of a play. And I'm like, 17, Deion Jennings. Nope, that's on him. So that's now like back and forth, and we keep going. I'm like, oh, that's MJ Johnson. And I was like, oh. They also changed their names on the roster, which pisses me off too. It's Montel Johnson. Like maybe it's Junior. I mean, it might be, but like, what are we doing here? Like this is supposed to be the official roster, and we got Ice Cup, Big Cat, this Stretch, and I'm like, and all great players, mind you. So no offense to them, but like the roster should be the names. Like I don't remember who half these guys are, but Sam Robinson quietly had a pretty good game too that I feel like we didn't talk about, but. Michael Clayton, another young guy, made a nice early play at the end zone.
Yeah, he dropped that interception. I'm sure whatever they got to do on the sideline to make up for it, doing push-ups or whatever. Yeah, that was a really nice play on kind of a bad ball by Serace, but he read it perfectly. Just got to hold on to it when he hit the ground.
I guess I'll I liked a lot of what I saw from some of the younger linebackers. It seems like these guys are going to play, especially considering the depth that Rutgers is starting to lack at linebackers. So they got to get him the game reps. Yeah, I agree. I like the play from Clayton. Yeah, that was one of the rare missteps by Serace. He just needed to kind of leave that ball a little bit farther towards the sideline and in the end zone, but he left it short, and Clayton made a great play. We saw a lot of guys. I'm gonna have to rewatch the game in full and like really pay attention to the defensive side, because I was more paying attention to the offensive side and who was rotating in, things like that. So I'll have to rewatch it more and look at some of the defensive guys to fully get a read on it. But there was definitely a lot to like. Yeah. So
I think everyone in the world knew it was a bad throw, including some members of the Serace family, per a source. I'm not going to say there was a loud expletive. I can't expletive. See, I'm struggling today. Expletive word shouted out from a certain family member, that per a source. That's all I can. After that throw, that's the only thing I could say. Other than that, I thought he had a really good game.
Yeah, no, he lived up to the hype for sure in terms of his play today. So there's only so much you could really learn from a spring game, honestly. You're going to play fairly vanilla looks. People are worried about getting guys poached and things like that, so you don't really want to show a whole lot in terms of, your talented players who might not necessarily be starters yet, or your younger guys who you think could be something. You kind of want to hide as much as you can and not show what's in your playbook. After the game, Greg Schiano gave a press conference. You guys spoke to a few players, fairly vanilla things from Greg. But was there anything in particular that stood out from the presser that you guys wanted to highlight from Greg?
Let me think. The fact that he says a lot of words still, and just there's nothing notable there. Like we were joking on our way down from the walking down from the Hale Center back to the other side of the field, and I was like, yeah, like I asked him about the two new transfers. I was like, oh, I got him. Like he's gonna have to say something about these two guys, and he's just like, Rich, the transfer portal, guys go in, guys leave, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, so I don't think he really said anything specific. It was just more like. Maybe Alec has something, but I got nothing.
Nah, not really. It was a pretty typical Greg Schiano presser, which means you're gonna hear a lot of general stuff and not too much in depth stuff. One thing that we wanted to ask but ran out of time. It was interesting. Famatu Ray went down early on in the game. Don't know what his status is. I mean, even if we asked, we probably wouldn't have gotten too much in depth. But yeah, definitely stinks to see, especially considering he won one of the spring awards. I forget which one. The offensive most improved award he won. I don't remember exactly which one it was. Let me find it. He won the.
It's with an M, I think.
They're
named after like.
Mark Mills Second Effort Award. That's what it was. Yeah, he won that, and then he ended up getting injured. I don't think he was on the field to accept it, which means I guess must not have been very good. So hopefully everything's all right with him at the end of spring camp. Zaire Angoy won the defensive award, the Douglas A. Smith Second Effort Award, Most Improved Defensive Player. And then DJ Allen won the Frank Burns Award for a player that shows outstanding physical and mental toughness. So, yeah, congratulations to those three guys. Yeah, and we also talked to AJ Serace and Ethan Calicmanis after the game. Wasn't, again, not a whole lot that you're going to hear. Ethan is kind of similar in that he tends to say a lot of things, but not a lot of things at the same time. He's very good at that, which is to be expected from the quarterback senior leader of the team. But talking to AJ Serace, someone asked him, I forget who asked the question, but he was asked, what do you feel like you've grown the most in from last year, this year, or over spring camp? He said the game's been slowing down for him. And one thing he's taken from Ethan Calicmanis is the mentality, where you can't let the same play bite you twice. Staying, moving on to the next play, staying play by play, things like that. So definitely a good step for Cerise. And if anything that we saw today is any good indication, Rutgers should have a pretty good starting quarterback in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm very excited to see his growth, and you hope you don't have to see too much of him this year, because that would mean something went kind of wrong. But very promising future on the Banks at the quarterback position in the near future. Another thing that got announced, they announced the homecoming opponent. Did you guys see this?
Yes, Oregon.
Yep.
Oregon. Usually you try and schedule a patsy for your homecoming opponent. Rutgers decided to go against the grain here and schedule maybe their hardest opponent of the year, second hardest at worst, for their homecoming game.
Yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't much of a choice there, I don't think.
Why is that?
Well, I feel like, at least of late, you always Big Ten teams always make homecoming in conference. I don't remember the last time Rutgers had a non-conference homecoming game, and it's usually at the midpoint of the season. And looking at the schedule, Oregon is the only home game from let's see,
September
from
20th.
from September 20th to November 8th. Oregon's the only home game, so there wasn't really much of a choice there, unless you want to make it Maryland all the way out in November 8th, and you want to make it like senior day or homecoming and then senior day. But
in Iowa, we posted on our boards, obviously, like they're not going to make a Friday night a homecoming game,
right?
For those of you that don't know, that game's Friday night now, or will be soon enough. Whatever.
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
All right, so that is the spring game recap. We could talk recruiting when we talk about the commitment that's coming up, or that has already happened, because there was a healthy visitor list there as well.
Yeah.
But I want to talk the NFL draft first. So the NFL draft day 3 wrapped up today. Rutgers saw 3 players get drafted. We saw the first player get drafted at the 6th round, pick 212. Robert Longerbeam got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. And I want to shout out 4 people in our Rutgers draft challenge who got an exact match, an exact round and team match. So congratulations there. Keontae Hamilton went in the 7th round, 224th overall to the Houston Texans. And Kyle Monungai went in the 7th round, 233rd overall to the Chicago Bears. Love that landing spot for Kyle, because they need a running back badly. They didn't draft a guy other than
DeAndre
Kyle.
Swift stinks.
DeAndre Swift stinks. Rashawn Johnson stinks. Kyle might end up being the starting running back in Chicago this year, assuming they don't make another big move.
Richie said I need to be more of a hater on the podcast, so I'm starting with DeAndre Swift. He sucks.
Okay, this is how
that's some low-hanging fruit there. That's called punching down.
Yeah,
Alex. And then to date, we have 6 undrafted players signed with the team. We have Desmond Igbenuson signed with the Baltimore Ravens. Shaquan Loyal signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. Tyreen Powell signed with the New Orleans Saints. Holland Pierce signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get into that one specifically in a second, because I think that one is a bigger move than we might have initially thought. Eric Rodgers signed with the Los Angeles Chargers, and Austin Riggs signed with the Minnesota Vikings.
That's
who have another
camp, but yeah,
that's a mini camp invite, but still, it's what most specialists get in the undrafted free agent pool. Holland Pierce got a $180,000 undrafted free agent signing bonus. Now, let's add some context here. Each team has $206,000 in a signing bonus pool for undrafted free agents. So that's the money they can distribute to all the guys that they pick up as undrafted free agents. They gave 85% of it to Holland. This is a guy they really wanted. Richie, you have some good intel as to what was going on during the draft regarding the Eagles and Holland Pierce. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we were sitting there after the press conference, got a little scoop, a little tidbit that the Eagles did call Holland a round pick. What was it, like 202, 203, something like that?
Yeah, it was in the 6th round. Yep.
Yeah, in the 6th round, and it sounded like they called him right before the Eagles had not back-to-back picks, but I think they had like 209 and 212.
It was 207 and 209.
Okay, so was that, and then we got the tip off when it was like in the early 200s, like 200, 201, and it said, like, oh, the Eagles just called them, and then it's like, okay, well, it sounds promising. Maybe it's one of these 2 picks. They end up taking a kid from Texas at offensive tackle in the 1st pick, and it's like, okay, there's no way it's going to be the 2nd pick. I think they went DB with that one, the 2nd one. I forget what it was. Either way, they had contact with him, so it sounds like they definitely wanted him. It's kind of how that works with the draft. Like a bunch of teams will call you right before they pick you, and it's like, hey, if you're there, we're going to pick you. And in reality, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It's more so to be prepared because who knows what's going to happen over those next 6 to 7 picks. Maybe the 3 guys you had ahead of him all got picked. So it's a guessing game. But, yeah, the Eagles were in contact with him during the draft. They were very close to drafting him. So the fact that they were able to get him for an undrafted free agent deal is huge for them. I think it's huge for Holland, too. I'm sure he had other offers out there. I don't know specifics on what other teams have offered him or looked at him and all that other nonsense, but it sounds like it's the hometown team basically for him. It's not down the street, but it's pretty damn close to where he grew up in Trenton. So
Yeah, just down I-95.
Yeah. So I've seen, and like Mike said, that's a lot of money for an undrafted free agent. So that means they definitely wanted him. So you pair him with the Texas kid. I think they drafted another tackle too.
Yeah, they drafted Hinton out of Michigan.
So
they also drafted Drew Kendall out of Boston College, who Rutgers played against a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to, I mean, obviously you got 2 entrenched tackle starters with the Eagles, so he's not going to have any chance to start. But if he can, latch on, and if Coach Stoutland sees something in the guy, it would be surprising if he was cut given this kind of money. At worst, he's going to be somebody who they try and stash on the I don't know. I can't think of it. The
Practice squad.
Practice squad. Sorry.
Yeah. Lane Johnson is getting older, so
not gonna be able to survive that Giants defensive line much longer.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yep.
Oh, Mike usually comments back. That's interesting. That means that we actually have a good defensive line.
No, sorry, I was reading something, but I mean, the Giants are the Giants.
Our back seven stinks, but that's not the point.
They've done some good things on their defensive line. You got Burns, you got Abdul Carter, you got
Dexy.
Kayvon, yeah, you got Dexter. Yeah, you guys got a really good defensive line. I'll give you that.
And they drafted the guy from Toledo in the 2nd round. That was a
Darius
steal.
Alexander. Yep, I like him a lot. You guys know what you're doing up front. You just gotta do everything else well.
Whoa, well, don't say up front. Just say defensive up front. Don't say offensive.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
It's calm it down a little.
Anything else draft-wise that we didn't touch on here, guys?
I mean, I think all of us are pretty happy with where our teams went.
Yeah, Rutgers wise, the Austin Riggs one's interesting. If he gets a legitimate shot there, just because they had what's his name from Rutgers, Andrew DePaolo. Yeah, I can't pronounce shit. But he's been there he was there a long time. I think he's with the Raiders now.
Andrew DePaolo? I think he's with the Vikings still.
Is he still with the Vikings?
I don't see him on their roster.
Unless he just signed somewhere else.
He's with the Vikings. Wikipedia has him with the Vikings. Okay, never mind. We don't want Austin Riggs to go there then. Stay away, Austin.
I mean, he's also getting old. He's 30. I mean, long snappers last for a long time.
Hey, Pro Bowler last year.
That's true. So maybe they bring him in as the heir apparent, and Rutgers can have a dynasty of Vikings long snappers.
If he makes a roster, it's long snapper you, right? Like,
I mean, Clark Harris,
yeah,
like alone, and then you get this one.
I didn't realize this. He's been an All-Pro selection each of the last 3 years. First team in 22, second team in 23, first team in 24. Not entirely sure how you judge that, but I'll take it. He's had a long NFL career. He's made a lot of money snapping the ball, so happy for him.
Yeah,
and the past 3 years, I just realized that. I thought it was just last year. It's the past 3.
And then Clark Harris was a Pro Bowler in 2017. He was with the Bengals for 13 years. So, long snapper you, maybe.
I'm telling you.
The pride of Southern Regional High School.
repping.
Yes, sir. That's I didn't realize we both had that connection until recently, Alec. Even though you didn't go there, you got the.
No, I didn't go there. No,
Yeah, you got
Clark Harris did.
Get the family close by. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little recruiting. Rutgers did pick up a commitment during the game from 2026 cornerback Blurr Murray. He was a guy that we've talked about extensively in the past. We talked about that Rutgers was doing really well with him. He decided to make it official today and committed to the Scarlet Knights. Richie, what does Blurr Murray bring to the table as a player?
Tall, lengthy cornerback. A little indifferent on this one. I do think he's got speed to him, which is interesting. He has some pretty good numbers for his high school team. Not a ton of tackles. It doesn't seem like he was tested a lot. 0 passes or 0 touchdowns given up as a high school junior. 21 tackles. It's 4 tackles for loss. 20 PBUs. So I guess maybe he has been tested a little bit more than I thought. 1 interception on the year. 4.55 40. That's a hand time. So that's not extremely fast, but a 10.8 100-meter dash. So he does have some speed to him. He's got length. He's got size. It's more. This is one of those builds where it's like, it's DB. It's Greg Schiano. You kind of just trust him at this point. No other Power 5 offers, which is a little concerning to me, considering he's been to a bunch of different campuses, whether it be was it Wake Forest? I believe Duke he visited. Yeah, Duke, Maryland, Wake Forest, Penn State, Virginia, West Virginia, Navy. Oh, Navy doesn't really count, but North Carolina. And he's been to all these schools, and the only Power 5 offers from Rutgers, so that is a little bit concerning. But again, it's Greg Schiano and DBs, and he built a really good relationship with David Rowe. He was on campus again. What was it? Last week, 2 weeks ago. One of the spring practices he was on campus for, and he just loved it. He loved everything about it. We submitted a future cast back in
March, I think.
March 9th. Damn. Okay, it's been a long time coming. He's always been a big fan of Rutgers. My concern is when you look at his other visits, and I know you can't really judge a person based off visits. You should watch their tape, and I've watched his tape. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great either. Battlefield doesn't produce a ton of talent. I think they have like 10 Power 5 commits since Rival started tracking. 10 commits in college since Rival started tracking in 2002 that we've tracked, mind you. There's probably still some lower level kids that we missed in the past. But Power 5, there's not a ton. There's a Pittsburgh kid. There's a Rutgers kid now, obviously. But he's visited like Richmond, Villanova. What was the other one? Elon, Campbell. And I'm like, okay, like his tape's okay. It's a tall, lengthy corner. We'll see if Greg Schiano can turn him into something. I think the speed's there. The athleticism's there. You just got to put it together on the field. And that's where the technique, and you can teach technique. You really can't teach speed. So you trust his DB room. Bunch of coaches back there between Vic Hall, David Rowe, Schiano himself, even Rob Smith, who I probably don't want talking to him too much, but he is a DB's coach in his past. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid get. I don't think it's anything special. I think he's a solid get, a developmental kid. Put it like that.
And there was a fairly large contingent of recruits also at the spring game. You want to just talk high level about some of the top guys who were there and kind of first impressions on how the game went for them?
Yeah, let me pull up this visit list. I had it all posted as the game started, actually. The typical commits: Elias Koch, YD Collier, they're on campus like every time you can get them on campus. DJ Howerton was there, a tight end target. They have a couple tight ends coming on official visits. I'd be intrigued to see if they take 2 this cycle. It wouldn't shock me if they did, because you are going to lose Colin Weber. I think Kenny Fletcher might be out of eligibility. Konopka is definitely out of eligibility. So maybe they take 2 this cycle. Who knows? I haven't gotten a response back on that yet. Amari Saab, 2026 wide receiver target. I am kind of intrigued where his recruitment's going to go. He's a little on the smaller side. He can't really play anything other than slot. It's like 5'9"-ish. I think he has talent. I think he's very explosive at that 5'9"-ish. It's just he's 5'9". So a little risky, but if you land him, you probably get his brother, who's also on campus, the 27 safety, Xavier Saab. I think Xavier right now is a top 150 kid or top 200. 167. So he's really talented. Corey Brown continues to visit Rutgers and no one else, it seems like. 27 running back out of Tottenville. has only 3 offers from Rutgers, Boston College, and Syracuse. This visit today was his 7th visit since April 23. Like it seems like it's predestined to happen at this point. He's again a little bit smaller, more of like a scat back type. He's like 5'9", 175-ish. But he plays running back instead of wide receiver, so you can get away with it. And he's kind of bulky too. Oakley Keegan came to campus, a tight end out of Liverpool, New York. We had to look that one up today. We didn't know where Liverpool was, up by Syracuse. Explains the Syracuse offer. But our Rutgers offered him. Who else? Connor Wynn, 27, tight end, came to campus. A kid that I feel like we don't talk about ever
the Florida
because
kid.
Missed his entire junior or sophomore season. Committed, was one of the first 3 2027 kids to actually commit to a school. So that
I think it was him.
Crazy.
I think it was a Rutgers, Syracuse commit, and then a Oklahoma commit at the time. Those are the only 3 2027s committed.
Kind of crazy. And then 28s came to campus. Phoenix Evan keeps coming to campus, and he's a Bosco athlete, wide receiver DB. 24 total offers already. He's going to be a top 5 kid in state, top 10 kid easily at least. But this is going to be his 5th visit to campus over the past year or so. Someone to keep a close eye on. I really think that they have a good shot there. And then Skylar Alston came up from Cardinal Gibbons down in North Carolina. They continue to hit the North Carolina pipeline. Earned an offer today on his visit, so we'll kind of see where that one goes. But 2028 is a long ways away. Kind of a quieter day. Spring practices are more important than the spring game for recruiting now. It's a little bit different how things work. You want to get them into a practice, watch an actual practice, whereas the spring game, especially on a day like today where it's supposed to be gloom and doom, it's hard to recruit kids when it's downpouring all over you. That being said, me and Alec were talking about this in the press box. I found it hilarious that everyone in the stands didn't have a jacket or a poncho, and they gave ponchos to the recruits, and you just saw the recruit section with just ponchos on. But that is my little funny for the day. That's about it.
Yeah.
Overall, a wet day, but a good time. Was there anything else? I know you asked him specifically about transfers. Where do you think the roster stands moving forward? How many guys would you say that they need now that spring practice is over for fall camp?
In terms of just any position or?
Yeah, any position. Just give a rough estimate. Maybe you can go position by position if you want. Just the ones we need. What
they need an offensive tackle. Whether that be left or right tackle, I think it's to be determined. I think they'll take whatever they can get at this point. I'm not going to say they're going to go out and just take a random. That's just another guy from LIU that no one's ever heard of. I actually think Giwa, I think it's how it's pronounced, is actually pretty talented. I think he's going to be solid down the line. But I think they want specifically a left tackle. If they can't get a left tackle, I think they'd be okay with a right tackle, and they would rock with either Needham or White at left tackle. So that's the one specific. Definitely a linebacker. They're very they're actually very involved with a ton of linebackers. Speaking of which, Bonner, who we mentioned on the pod earlier today, let's just cross that one off the list. That one's probably going to go to Miami, it sounds like, after all. So hasn't committed yet, technically, but our guy's telling us it's going to be Miami sooner rather than later. Miami's also the odds-on favorite, probably for Muhammad Toure right now. I'd keep an eye on Syracuse there. There's been some inquiries from the Syracuse staff, which kind of makes sense considering Nuns is there, Fran Brown's there, etc. Whoever else is from Jersey up there, Elijah Robinson's a Jersey guy. So keep an eye on that. So definitely linebacker, definitely offensive tackle. After that, it's kind of a guessing game. It sounds like they're done at D tackle because they got the new guy, Oliver Billette, I think it was, from Kent State. So they're done there. He's a rotational piece. I have to reiterate this because everyone's like, well, he's 280. How's he going to play in the Big Ten? He's fine. He's 6'5", 280. They're going to get him in the program. He's going to bulk up to 290 within days, to be honest. That staff knows what they're doing. Only other spot I could see them reaching out to, maybe a DB, will be a corner or safety. That's where it gets a little interesting because we know last year they rocked with 3 safeties with Igbenogson kind of playing a lot of the nickel. Right now, you have Henderson, Miller, and Mascow as your top 3 corners. You could probably just rock with those guys and then put Sanders Elad back there, but I think preferably they'd rather another safety because Jacoby has 2 years and Jacoby can kind of play that backup role where Eric Rogers kind of played over the past couple seasons before elevating him to starter in 26. So I don't know if they're going to definitely get a safety. I don't know if they're going to do anything other than their main two, an offensive tackle and linebacker, but that's pretty much the main focus right now.
Gotcha. Good to know. So stay tuned, as I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that now that the spring is over. They've had a full assessment. The window to transfer out has closed. I think at midnight last night that closed.
Yep.
So with the who's staying picture being pretty static, I think they'll be able to make a lot more informed decisions for the rest of the offseason. Anything else you guys wanted to hit on before we head out of here today?
So Kamal Bonner to Miami, that's actually official. It already happened a few hours ago. So
okay. Well, I was right then.
That's done with. Also, one thing that I just saw, Kayron Adams signed an undrafted deal with the Panthers. Didn't finish his career at Rutgers, but he started it there. Same with Raheem Blackshear, same thing. So he's there as well. Those are two things that that's something that I just saw. Another thing on Brandon Murray, or Blurr, I guess his nickname is. I do find it interesting that Battlefield has had. You mentioned that they haven't had too many commits. A lot of those commits have actually been in the last couple of years. They've sent a few guys to Power Fives in recent years, so it could be a school that's potentially on the rise in Virginia. Like in 2025, Cole Woodson's going to Pitt. They have a couple guys going to. They have one guy going to Army, one guy going to Villanova. Caleb Woodson, who I'm sure is Cole's brother, went to Virginia Tech in the class of 2023. They've had a few 3-stars, so maybe this is a potential school to tap in on early and see if you can get some guys as they go prestige wise. I guess on a bigger picture, I do find it kind of interesting that Rutgers is starting to go into Virginia a little bit more and expanding into that territory. I believe that is
State of Rutgers.
Yes. I believe Eric Teams, I want to say, has done a lot of work there recruiting Virginia. So I forget exactly what his role is, but
assistant running backs coach.
Okay. Yeah. So he's I think he's done a lot of work, or I think he's been the lead recruiter on some of the guys when they've gone into Virginia. They've already landed Desir Carter. That was more of a Demir Shaw relationship, but still they're going into Virginia. So I guess we'll have to wait and see if that turns into a real hotbed. But it seems like they're at least taking a chance on it and seeing if it does turn into that.
We got a hot take on the draft for next year, and we talked about it a little bit in the beginning. I think Ethan Kalikmanis is gonna. Oof, that might be a really too much of a spicy take. I'm gonna say 7th round pick.
I could see it.
It's a little ballsy. I'm not gonna lie.
I think he gets drafted if he improves from last year. I think he gets drafted.
Second guess myself on that one. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, looking at the quarterbacks that got drafted, there were a lot of them.
Well, Graham Merritt's got drafted, so anyone can get drafted.
Yes, exactly. Like Quinn Ewers. I mean, Quinn Ewers had a lot of prestige to his name, and I didn't think he was that good. But I mean, yeah. The Raiders, two times and 3 picks drafted an FCS quarterback. The 2 quarterbacks that faced off against each other in the FCS national championship. So that's why day 3 is such a crapshoot when it comes to predicting who's going to get drafted, because a lot of the consensus stuff gets thrown out the window because we don't know what teams are thinking late in the draft. So I could see it if he builds on his last month of the season. I could definitely see it. I mean, looking at one thing that just popped up that I was looking at, Colin Schlee from Virginia Tech just signed an undrafted free agent deal with the Commanders, and I don't really think, no offense to Colin Schlee, I don't think he did all that much at Virginia Tech.
I don't think he did either. I think he came over from UCLA. He got hurt a few times. I know when we played him, he had a specific package that they were running with him.
He was an option type quarterback, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he played in. I want to say he started 3 games this year when Kyron Jones got hurt. He threw for 400 yards, ran for 143. So hey, I mean, anything's possible.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thanks for meeting back up with us for the second time today. I hope you enjoyed our coverage of the spring game and of the new additions to the football program. Don't know when the next pod will be, as usual, because we just kind of react to the news. But we want to thank you for coming back and listening to us once again. For me, Alec, and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.